enough. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nice to see peace and harmony at the left side of me.
Come on, you guys. You know what it is? It's a boring side of that game.
It is. It's a boring side?
Yeah, it's a
You
boring
don't know
side.
half what goes on down here.
No, I don't wanna know.
It'll be the
Right?
regular
Probably
meeting,
the date.
regular meeting will be the 3rd and the 24th of January, and then a work session on Thursday, the 15th?
Do we want to do the work session 6
Thursday, the
o'clock?
13th.
Mm-hmm.
The regular meeting in January will be the 3rd
I'm in favor of 6.
and the 24th.
That's what I put it in for.
Because the 17th is a holiday.
And the rest special would be,
13th at
13th.
6 PM.
great.
Oh, 6 PM?
Yeah, we'll do sandwiches or something, and
All right.
what I would suggest, Greg, for scheduling where that meeting's gonna be, in the room over there with a large table that we can sit around and, rather than this configuration.
Yeah, it works better.
Yeah.
And the
It'll
Board
be
of
better.
Appeals may be meeting that night anyway, the 3rd, Thursday. I think
Is that the third Thursday?
Did you say 6,
13th. We're talking about the
Second.
work session.
right, did you say
We may have a
6
meeting.
PM?
That's the 2nd Thursday, all right.
So the other two meetings in January would be the 3rd and the 24th would be our regular meetings. Okay? Next item on our agenda is the town administrator, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
town administrator's report.
That's me.
right?
Hey.
That's me. The board members received copies of a engineering study that was done, Wright and Pierce Engineers. They looked at two things. They looked at the improvements to Swan Pond Road, specifically to provide better vehicle access. We recall there was a fire up there. There was some question about ability of large emergency vehicles to get up there and safely turn around. So part of the report addresses alternatives associated with road improvements. The second piece of the study addresses fire protection and providing water service up there to alleviate some of the concerns that the residents had expressed about the fact that there's no municipal water supply in the area. I'm not gonna go through the alternatives. What I would suggest happen is that we discuss this as part of our capital improvement plan that will be coming up. Should be noted that the town did attempt to secure federal and state grant funds. There were no monies that were available, so we did make an effort. One of the more intriguing proposals that's here is the installation of a underground cistern, 20 to 30,000 gallons. Talking with the Public Works Director, it's his view that in terms of looking at the alternatives, that's perhaps the most feasible. But again, it's something that should be considered as part of our capital improvement plan moving forward, and considered along with all of our other water department and capital requests that we have that come to us.
Just a question, what was the cost of this?
I don't recall off the top of my head. It would not have been much money. I don't recall, Bob. And as Debbie said, I don't want to throw out numbers if I'm not sure what they are.
That's fine.
Do you know if this has been shared with the neighborhood representatives up there?
It has, yes, it has. As a matter of fact,
I
we.
just haven't heard back, I haven't heard from them, so I
There was
Yeah.
comments in
Yeah,
here
they were
from
quite happy,
some of the
they're
residents.
quite happy with the
Okay, I
fact
see.
that we included them in the
Yep,
discussions.
that's good.
And we wanted to make sure that their comments got incorporated into the document. Next on the list is from this summer, the board, it was contemplating the sale of some municipal land on Main Street. Attorney Jim Senior, who represents one of the private property owners that was interested in property, indicates that there is a new survey plan that does need to be completed on the property. It was hoped that there would be an existing survey plan that would exist for their efforts. In fact, there is no existing survey plan. There's a cost associated with drafting up a new plan, and the suggestion would be that the board consider setting a minimum sale price on the property, that you do so at your next meeting, give you an opportunity to get that out and convey that out to the public. And then, if this individual does proceed with the survey plan and he's a successful bidder, because this does need to be put out to bid, that there be a credit against the purchase price. So I would respectfully request that you consider the sale and establishing the value of this property. And we'll do a package, as we normally do, which will give you an idea of what the potential valuation range would be on the property.
No, originally, last time we talked, I thought there was 4 parcels.
There are.
Right, okay. That's for all 4 parcels?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, remember, it was different pieces in front of
Yeah.
different pieces of
Right.
ownership of property.
So he wants all 4?
Is that the thin?
Yes, it is. The thin line, but I think there was another piece that was not
2
necessary.
blocks to the right of it.
And there was also a piece that fronted on a town parcel.
Mhm.
Right.
But weren't we concerned about exactly that
Yes.
we would have wanted to divide it so
Right.
that one owner couldn't restrict the other commercial businesses in terms of access?
And we wouldn't want to cut off the town's access to a piece of
Right.
property that we own there also.
Right.
Because we own a billboard.
Right.
And I believe the action that was taken at that meeting was Heidi was gonna go back and redo the plans and make sure they were broken out individually, because I think what we got was all together.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you maybe could follow up.
So I guess my question is, I know it's implied here that he's gonna do the plan and pay for it, but wants to be able to deduct the cost of it. Is that how I read this?
That's exactly what it says.
But he's gonna do a survey plan
But he's gonna
as
do a
one piece
plan
of
as
property
it looks.
versus
Yeah, right.
4 separate
Is
ones.
that what we want?
Right.
If we're gonna pay for it, in the end, we should get what we want, which is, I believe we want 4 survey plans, right? 1 for each parcel.
Yeah, we're most concerned about the parcel that has the billboard, which is generating revenue for the town.
Does,
Right.
yeah.
And we were talking about subdividing that particular parcel and retaining that portion which has the billboard, and
Create a revenue.
then selling the rest of it off to,
I mean, do we
Well, I
ever,
mean-
we hire surveyors to do this work for us, right?
Well, I mean, that may be included in here, but it's not stated as to what the intent of the plan is.
I don't, yeah, I didn't read that as them indicating that they were looking to grant out, which is as far as subdividing that one parcel. You may have been right as far as Heidi was maybe gonna try and
I looked at my stuff
play
yesterday.
around with that a little bit just to
What was the
make sure
note I
we were
had?
looking to and then protect our interests. And as far as the rest of it, certainly, I just don't want the town to incur any cost. I don't care if we turn it over for nothing, but we shouldn't incur any costs
Right.
associated with it. So if we put together some sort of a package for those other 3 little parcels, as far as, put your bid, a minimum bid of $1, to include any and all costs associated with the transfer and clear title to the property, so be it,
Yep.
But that other one parcel, which is generating some revenue, I have no portion of getting that subdivided and having that go with the rest of the package.
So what are you implying here?
So I think we need to double check with Heidi again to see what she can do for us, and then we can indicate, and based upon that,
Mm-hmm.
then we can come up with some sort of a motion to put everything up for sale with certain contingencies in there, caveats, in relation to getting it back on the tax rolls and giving it to people who really should own it anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to see CPC weigh in on it.
I'll ask
Yeah,
them.
yeah, sure.
CPC.
But, and again, I have no problem, if they're gonna, this is the whole idea, have them incur the cost to get it surveyed properly, transferred properly, and get it into their hands. I'm not looking for us to generate any, quote, revenue today, to get it into their hands, because they get it later on.
No, the concern I had was that, when I looked at this, it looks like they wanted to take it all, and, what about the billboard? And then
Right.
what's the impact of them owning that strip? Because if you have to cross it, was my understanding, to get into the other adjacent businesses, right?
If we could somehow incorporate, if there's part of that, the strip, the small skinny strip is in front of that billboard portion that we look to retain, the costs incurred to make sure that that's effectuated should be borne by who's ever buying the rest of it.
Right.
So let's get the
That's-
whole matter cleared up at their expense, and that expense is fine with me as far as the minimum bid on the properties.
Right,
And then it straightens out what we end up with in the end.
and the other thing was that CPC mentioned when they were here, when we discussed this last, was they want to make sure that the paperwork's done correctly, so they can never take the 4 separate lots that they're gonna acquire and merge them into one, to get the footage or the frontage for a right-of-way in another
Yeah.
building. So they want to make sure the right words are in there, and we need to get that from Heidi as well.
Well, it'll be our basic proposal that goes out, right? So this is a study to define the meets and bounds. I'm taking it as,
We can have them weigh in as to what the effects would be
Yeah.
if it were to be able to be combined with the other parcels, what the effects of that would be. Again, I'm not opposed to more construction on Route 28, but,
Yeah. Don,
excuse me.
sorry, Jeff.
the parcels that we're talking about isn't, except for the billboard, aren't the remaining parcels on their property, whoever's,
They're right in front of their properties.
okay,
But
so,
it's not only their property, it was in
I think there
front
was
of,
one other.
That's right.
was there? Okay, that's, I wasn't sure.
that was my concern was, what happens if
Why would they be buying something in front of somebody else's property? Or is that
put up a
because?
toll gate? I don't know.
You gotta make money somehow, but I mean, why would they be buying, is the parcel
Well, we don't
such
know.
that it
We-
covers 2 properties, is that?
I think it does.
We
Yeah, I
don't
think
know
it's-
It's in a regular-
exactly.
one of them is in a
I think
regular
that's the
parcel
issue.
that crosses in front of two pieces of
Yeah,
property.
look, maybe, we're looking into this too deeply, and it's a blob of land, and they gotta do a study to determine the implications of the whole thing, I don't know.
I mean, but would we not consider just simply the property in front of their property? Rather
I
than,
think we can get it worked out.
I'm gonna get a written recommendation from the CPC.
Yeah, that's a great idea,
Sounds like a
Greg.
plan, doesn't it?
It does. Next item.
If you allow me to move on, just a brief update. You recall there was an article at town meeting to appropriate monies for a pavilion at Ipswich River Park, and it was submitted under the Park Grant Program. The board members have a copy of the letter indicating that the 57 projects had submitted, cities and towns had submitted applications under the Park Grant Program, and ours unfortunately was not funded. It's my understanding that most of the grants went to some of your urban centers, so that North Reading and many of the other suburban communities were not included in the funding process. So it was certainly a good effort that was put forth, and I'm sure that the Recreation Committee and the LUC will have some good ideas going forward.
excuse me, Greg, on that, I don't know if everybody saw the email, I don't know if it went to everybody.
I did.
Yeah, from Kentar?
Yeah?
Yeah, from Ken, okay.
Mhm.
So, they know they can do it for a small amount of money at this point, but,
They know they can do it for less money. It was still a big amount of money.
yeah.
That's
well,
true.
sure.
Allow me to move on, if you don't mind. The board members just received a copy of a letter that I received from Mass Emergency Management, just confirming the fact that we do have a signed grant agreement for the Route 62 culvert project. The amount of state grant is $590,625, and that's combined with the $270,000 that was approved at town meeting April, I believe it was in the April version of town meeting. It wasn't the June version, it was the earlier version back in April. So certainly in terms of project cost, we have sufficient funds to proceed with the project. It's the approvals, the engineering, and the conservation approvals that are required for the project to go forward, and those will be taking place over the upcoming months.
And this is now proposed, nothing's changed in terms of building some kind of a temporary bridge while they're constructing the culvert,
Right.
or bypass, whatever you want to call
Right.
it.
Right, I think if we can do it more efficiently, for example, shutting down the road, then that will result in the cost being substantially lower than.
But my
what we have.
understanding, that was off the table. Yes, no?
Never say never.
Okay.
Um,
See, the cement trucks will come out now, they wanna get to